everybody. This is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to talk about how love and attraction are not the two most important things that you should look for in a Catholic marriage. Now, before we begin, let's start with a prayer. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti. Amen. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, sic ut era in principio et nunc et semper et saecula saeculorum. Amen. Great compendium videos would be how romanticism destroyed marriage, the number one thing you should look for in a Catholic spouse, and then our two-part series on Christian remarriage and annulments. Now, this episode is really geared toward younger people or people that are wanting to remarry after getting an annulment. We have an episode on that. Catholics shouldn't be on the dating scene unless they have an annulment if they've been previously married. But also for older people who are contemplating dating, like I'm currently in courtship. So look, I think when we're 19, we're young, dumb, and full of what rhymes with that. And we really don't have a lot of wisdom. And certainly a lot of the idea of romantic love being the true thing is reinforced by Hollywood, like Disney. And that true love will overcome. And you need to feel the pitter-patter of the heart when you're around the person and so forth. And we fall for this. Right? So on one level, it's like, I will love you as long as you make me feel this way. But then you never see the second part of that statement. And then when you don't make me feel this way, I'm out. Now, certainly Catholics should have a better perspective of the sacrament of matrimony than secularists or fallen away Christians. And the problem is, we don't live in a Catholic bubble. We have that episode on the Benedict option, but most of us live in this world, and we are unfortunately influenced by this world. And when you look at the world, you look at media, social media, and so forth, it's all about divorce is fine, divorce is okay. So it's kind of like this more utilitarian, hedonistic view of love. And then when it's no longer good for you or you're not getting anything out of it, it's totally fine to end the marriage, rinse, lather, repeat. No, that's not the sacrament of matrimony. And Christ talks about it in Matthew 19, for example, and St. Paul talks about it in Ephesians and 1 Corinthians. We have a treatment on 1 Corinthians 7 here. And so look, to me, the number one thing you should look for in a Catholic spouse is similar values. And the number one value being marriages till death. There's nothing that's going to happen in our marriage that's going to make me leave. Marriage is indissoluble, no matter what. The love part, what is love? We see romantic love as sexual attraction and having that need, that intimacy to be with one another. I'm not to say that's not a bad thing, but if any of you have been married for a long time, you know that eventually that is going to abate. And you see people who marry for the sexual attraction, but never look at similar values or similar comportment or similar Catholic values. And so once this sexual pitter-patter goes away, you look at this person and your values could be diametrically opposed on so many things. And this is one of the things that can lead to the dissolution, the civil dissolution, I should say, of the marriage. So romantic love, a little overrated. I kind of, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, that kind of the Indian arranged marriage and the way we used to do in the Western world worked for a reason. You had older people deciding for you because, yes, you think, when you're 20 or 16, sometimes with the girls, they think they know better. No, this is why the adults would arrange the marriage. And the understanding is this is a covenant, an agreement based on love that is sacramental, it's bound together, and on one level it doesn't even matter if you love each other. I would see love, what is true love? If true love existed, we'd still be in love with the first person that we thought we were in love with, but many people have been in love with many people in their life. So we kind of have the idea of the Disney romantic love truly really doesn't exist. True love is putting that person's needs in front of your own needs. It's not, hey, I'm horny, let's go have sex. No, it's fornication, but don't you love me? Don't you want to do to make me happy? See, that's the kind of love that we have now that is so emblematic, and you see it played out to extreme effects in HBO's Euphoria. A crap show like that is just insidious for teenage kids and college kids to watch. But we need to have the mindset of really, love and attraction is almost the bonus. Because what's the intent of Catholic matrimony? It's the procreation of children. This is why we don't believe in homosexual marriage, because homosexual marriage doesn't have the opportunity for the procreation of children. And so if you look at societies like even like in Sparta, where there was a lot of sodomy, they never place it on the level of marriage, never, because marriage is understood to be for the betterment of children that came from that union and to give them a stable society. So in closing, marriage, love, okay, great. But to me, it's like, do our values line up? Are we both, let's say, traditional conservatives and social issues, political issues? These are things that you have to really line up, because, you know, the polar opposites don't always work. Do we have similar ways that we communicate? Are we both effective communicators? These are important. Right? How do you fight? Because every couple fights, but how do you fight? We don't want to have passive aggressiveness, for example. But it's the values, and I believe that's like, you know, if you find somebody you have similar values, and then you do the discernment process before you get married, and then during that time or even after marriage, you can fall in love with them and have that romantic attraction. But that should not be the number one thing. You see this really badly played out in the Tinder world, because the Tinder world is all about physical attraction and sex, and then you get blinded by the sex, and then you don't get to know the person. And that's the opposite. We want it to be the other way, where you fall in love with the values, and then hopefully you're not fornicating, and you wait till you get married to have the sex and enjoy the benefits of that. In general, matrimony today, and even in Catholic matrimony, is in dire straits. We have this view that's been imbued by secularism, really, that's like, I love you for better or for worse, but if things don't work out, we'll get a divorce. You know, and why do we have these vows? It's not that when things are going well, we make these vows for better or worse when things go poorly. But today it's that instant gratification, pop a pill mentality of, I need to feel this way, and when I no longer feel this way, I can get a divorce. And of course, we've talked about how men going their own way. The MGTOW movement has influenced marriage, how with no fault divorce, anybody can get a divorce in any way they want. And so it's a major problem. So I would tell you men and you women, you know, while you're looking at similar values, also look for someone who isn't going to leave you, who isn't going to divorce you, because you could be totally 100% in line with Catholic matrimony and its principles, and the principles espoused by St. Paul and Christ and Peter. We have a video on 1 Peter. You can be totally in line with that, but if that person isn't in line with that, then you're unevenly yoked, and then you could see that person divorcing you, and then you might have a legitimate, valid marriage, and then you might try to get an annulment, and maybe the annulment won't be granted. So again, vet the person that you're contemplating to marry. Vet them very well, and make values in your love of the Catholic faith, or if you're a Protestant here, your love of your Christian faith, number one, and romanticism down here, sexual attraction down here, not as important. And I know this is like so unromantic for me to say that, but again, what's the goal of marriage? It's a marriage. We want it to last, because the longer marriages last until death, the stronger they are, and the stronger marriages are, the stronger society is. You see in the world of no-fault divorce since 1970, with also the concomitant rise of welfare, what's happened to our society? What's the illegitimacy rate? Over 50%. Close in the white community, almost 80% in the black community. So you see that marriages falling apart or out of wedlock children is not good for any level of society, economically, politically, socially, and so forth. So we want to avoid that. So please, look at the things that are important in a spouse, and essentially just ignore everything Hollywood tells you that is important to look for in a spouse. And again, pursue Catholic sources. Read Catholic sources on what's important in matrimony and go from there. Guys, post in the comments. I would like to hear from you. Please hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Share with other people. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.